Hello everybody, James here, Storytime with Dutch Mantell, episode 147, Dutch, I think, anyway, I'm pretty sure that's it. We're going to do the quick version of the intro, Dutch, and then we're going to get straight into it because we've got a lot of news. And weirdly, one thing that's more tenuously wrestling-based that I thought you'd be really interested in, because I guess you're from that vague general area. I mean, I know this fellow was more the Mississippi, Tennessee area, and you were in North Carolina growing up, but I thought I'd mention that as well. But before we do, Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's at gmail.com. That is the email you use to get your signed merchandise from Dutch Mantell himself, including 2 signed books, WCW trading cards, signed hats, signed diplomas from the University of Dutch, and more. And questions for Dutch at gmail.com is the email you use to write into this very show and submit your questions for the Sunday every single week episode of... Oh, there's one... He's gone now. There we go. Jeffrey Beattie, there you go. There's your PhD in the wrestling arts. That is available at Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's at gmail.com. And questions for Dutch, of course, is the email you use to write into the show and submit your questions for Ask Dutch Anything. Right, all right then. So we were just talking off air, and I thought, let's save this, Dutch. Buford Pusser. I mean, an unfortunate name. But a legend, not round your neck of the woods, but sort of in you know, Southern American states, you know, a legend of the 60s and 70s, films made about him, books, TV shows, the whole bit.
In Tennessee, I used to go through those towns at least once a week. What county was he from? Does it say?
It says no. It says the Mississippi-Tennessee border is where he was operating, so around that area. Around
Selmer, Tennessee. Right in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, for people who don't know, and the reason why we're mentioning this is that Buford Pusser, once again, you know, the most famous thing made about him is Walking Tall, the original starring whoever that, where was his name? Joe Don Baker, and then the remake 2004, of course, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, what was he famous for, Dutch, in the area back in the 60s?
Well, he was a wrestler at one point, and then he became the sheriff of the town. And I guess back in those days, in place of the drug dealers, they had moonshiners, guys who would make and sell and produce and distribute moonshine whiskey. And all that really meant was, you know, they didn't get a license to make moonshine whiskey, and they sold it and didn't pay taxes. I mean, nobody was like drugs. Nobody was dying from drinking moonshine whiskey. They have, but that wasn't the problem then. And when he became sheriff, he declared war on these moonshiners, and that's what caused his death.
Yeah, there are definitely conspiracy theories about his death in 1974. We'll get into them in a moment. Yeah, but he sounds like a right killjoy, does Buford Pusser.
Oh, yeah. Well,
how can he be such a legend, then?
I don't know, really. I really don't know. I've actually thought about that. What the hell makes him a legend? He was just, I don't know if he made any money from these moonshiners or what, but, you know, a little southern sheriff down in a small county down south, I mean, who's going to really spy on him if he makes a little extra money from these moonshiners? But he wouldn't play ball, apparently. And since he wouldn't play with them, they made his life really, really hard for him. He actually lost his wife, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. And then, how old was he when he died?
I don't think he was that old at all. I think he's one of those people who looks a lot older than he was. 36. My God, I thought he was going to be in his 50s, yeah.
He died at 36?
Yeah. So he was born in Finger, Tennessee.
60.
No, born in Finger, Tennessee, died in Adamsville, Tennessee, if you know where they are.
Yeah, I know where they are, yeah. I've been through them. I've actually wrestled in them.
So the story goes is that he waged a one-man war basically against all these ne'er-do-wells and whatnot, and he tried to make his life hell, essentially. Bill Watts ended up sort of, I guess, emulating Buford Pusser at one point, and then the 2x4 that Jim Duggan carried with him was an homage or a rip-off, whatever you want to call it, to Buford Pusser. And, you know, if people watch the original or the remake of Walking Tall, he doesn't use guns.
Catch me up on this. He carried a 2x4 with him?
Yeah, apparently so, yeah.
Did he have a gun?
According to the films, no, he didn't like firearms. He just beat people up with a wooden stick.
Okay, continue with this story.
Okay, we're going to get to what he's like in a wrestler in a set. In fact, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's get to the main crux of why we're talking about this here. Is that it was a cold case for decades, quite frankly. The murder of his wife. Now, law enforcement at the time took Buford Pusser at his word that his wife had been killed by pretty much like a drive-by, I guess. They'd some ne'er-do-wells, some criminals in the area drove up, shot through the car, killed his wife, and then injured him with shotgun pellets or whatever it might be.
What year was this?
In the late 60s.
Wow.
So, this is from ABC. Law enforcement uncovered physical, medical, forensic, ballistic, and reenactment evidence that contradicted McNairy County Sheriff Pusser's account of his wife's 1967 murder. This case, quote, is not about tearing down a legend, it's about giving dignity and closure to Buford's wife, Pauline, and her family, and ensuring that the truth is not buried with time. The sheriff had reported that his wife volunteered to ride along with him in the dark early morning hours on a disturbance call. He claimed that a car pulled alongside his and fired several shots toward them, killing Pauline and injuring him in what he claimed was an ambush intended for him, carried out by unknown assailants, according to a fellow called Davidson, who's one of the investigators. Investigators now believe that Pauline Pusser was shot outside the vehicle, then placed inside the vehicle, which is not what Buford Pusser has told investigators at the time of the murder. Quote, this was a cold case for decades, but in 2022, TBI agents took another look at the archive file and coordinated with our office. The work accelerated in 2023, and in 2024, Pauline Mullins Pusser was exhumed for an autopsy. So basically, they're now theorising that Buford Pusser killed his wife, which sort of puts a different slant on... yeah.
We both read enough crime stories and seen enough crime stories on TV. If he shot her, allegedly a car drove up beside him and shot into the car. They couldn't tell that back then.
Well, apparently they didn't
look.
If
he shot her outside the car, it would be at a different angle, and it would just be totally different. And then, where did he get shot?
Well, okay, there's a running theory that he obviously... You know, they're saying he lied, and that he got shot either by ricocheting of a bullet himself, or he tried to do himself in and then flinched and didn't do it, essentially, and then carried on. But now the running theory is that Buford killed his wife and then framed unknown assailants. But, you know, there's all these photos of the crime scene, and everyone's gone back and looked at it and just thought, this dude's lying.
Okay, let's look at a motive here. Why would he kill his wife?
So, people at the time were saying that he was a fairly abusive husband and was not treating his wife very nicely at all. So that's sort of anecdotal evidence that it wasn't the happiest marriage. Well,
other than that, that could apply to millions of men around the world, more billions. But what is it? What was he going to get out of this by having her dead?
Quiet household? I don't know.
Did he make any money on it?
That I don't know. What, you mean if she was insured or something? No idea.
Yeah, insured or it doesn't really make sense. Okay, so shooting her outside the car, I have my doubts about. Why did he do it? I have my doubts about, and I'm not agreeing with this story.
Yeah.
The truth.
Well, so investigators basically look at blood spatter analysis and direction of bullet holes and whatnot, and basically said there's not a chance that Buford's version of events happened the way he claimed at the time. Now, that doesn't prove that he killed his wife, but it sure makes it suspicious as to why he would make up, like, who would have shot his wife, or, you know, the trajectory, essentially, and then moving the body afterwards.
That's an odd story. Now, the only other way to fix this story is he paid somebody to do it.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but they didn't bring that up. So,
But then why would they have put his wife's body in the car then?
to make her, I don't know, make her look like she was shot in the car. Probably easier to do it that way. I don't know. They don't know either, I might add.
You were saying afterwards that the reason why we're bringing this up on a wrestling show is because he used to wrestle in his early days, I guess, as Buford the Bull in the Mid-South area. So...
Buford the what?
Buford the Bull.
Oh, okay. The Bull.
And you said he was a terrible wrestler.
Well, I've never met the man, never. What year did he die?
74, man. You were in the business
Okay,
like 3
74.
years.
Well, I wasn't around in 74, or that I was around, but I wasn't in that area. So, but I've heard from some of the guys back when I started, they remembered him, and they said he was just awful. That he was worse than awful. So he wasn't very good. And I don't think he's very good at damn framing murder scenes either.
Well, he may well not be. We'll see. I mean, maybe there might be more investigating to be done and, anything more concrete, but that's where we are at that point. I thought I'd bring it up because I figured that was kind of the thing that you'd be interested in, if nothing else.
Well, other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson played his part in a movie, which I saw the movie. I think he it was a so-so movie. I'm not advising anyone to go out and try to find it and watch it because it wasn't that good.
Right. I didn't mind it. But I like Welcome to the Jungle, which I think was called The Rundown or something in the States. For some reason, they changed the name. That was the year before when The Rock started with Sean William Scott.
Okay, how many people do you think that listen to us on this podcast really know who Buford Pusser is or was?
You mean like beyond the films?
Yeah.
Internationally, very few.
Yeah.
I mean, were you hearing about this guy's name before the Walking Tall movie, the original one?
No, I never did.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think, and I was down south, not that far away, and never heard his name.
Right, we're going to move on. Right, so I'm going to warn everybody now. We're going to be talking about the Roger Jackson SykoStu thing. It's sort of been a story that's been done to death, but I thought because we were kind of quite close to when it happened last week, and there's been a load of updates this week. So once again, it's sort of been oversubscribed, this news story, but because it's still a big news story, there's a lot of things we've not gone through yet. I thought we'd go through it now. So, if you don't want to hear about it, just skip ahead. Right, okay. The main news is that Roger... Hey, yes. Oh, you want me to admire your mustache?
No, I want your expert analysis on my facial hair this
Excellent.
morning.
You look like the Pringles man. Perfect.
It's kicking ass today, buddy. Okay.
Continue. Before we started recording, you stopped me 2 different times to tell me how great your mustache was looking today.
Oh, I thought it looked great. Now, if anybody doesn't think it looks great, don't tell me. I just want positive reviews on my mustache. And hey, I need to enter this mustache in a contest.
Are you going to be attached to it when you do? Or are you going to mail it in?
What do you mean mail it in?
We'll just shave it off and stick it to a piece of paper and mail it in to the contest.
Was that supposed to be humorous? It missed the mark.
Okay. All right, let's do this story. Right, the main story, the main news, Roger Jackson and SykoStu updates, is that the main one is that Roger Jackson, after a week and a half, has not been arrested yet.
That is strange. I don't know what they need. And I don't know if the DA would have to make the call on this, right? Not the police, the DA, right?
We think so. Well, LAPD, apparently there was an update yesterday, Monday, as we record this, because this is Tuesday. So yesterday, Monday, saying that LAPD are still investigating, but once again, no arrests have been made. It's like, man, how much evidence do you need?
That's what I'm saying. Okay, in your opinion, I'm asking you, do you think he will even be arrested?
I don't know. At this point,
you're dealing with wrestling here.
Yeah.
And I've often said, and don't tell me how often I've said this to myself, of course, I think you could, and this is exactly what I said, you could kill a man in the ring and be done with it before anybody would even know. Because they've watched all this wild stuff for years and years and years. And they could sit back and say, wow, I think he really hit him. And sit there and watch it and not know what they're watching until the guy's dead. So,
well,
you agree with that?
You mean like it's a good legal defense to say, well, I didn't know I was killing him.
Well, I don't know what a good defense is. The guy's dead, but
well, he's not dead. But yeah,
well, not the guy we're talking about, but they see so much, and so much. Two guys beating up one guy, and if a guy gets knocked out, he's laying there, and anything can happen to him then. And then, but I don't know. We're going to have to see about this. But since it's taken so long to arrest Raja, Raja, Raja Jackson, I'm having my second doubts on it. They may not even arrest him.
So the good news is that Stewart has been released from the hospital and is now resting. This is a Facebook post from his own Facebook page. He sustained a serious head trauma and was unconscious upon arrival at the ER. His injuries include trauma to both the upper and lower jaws, a laceration to his upper lip, and a fracture to the maxilla bone, which unfortunately resulted in the loss of several teeth.
Okay, what bone is that?
I think it's around there. It's like one of the upper jaw kind of thing, I think.
Oh.
It's upper or lower, it's connected to the teeth. So it says he has a long road of recovery ahead, but he remains in good spirits despite everything he has been through. Deeply grateful, love and support, money, GoFundMe, that kind of thing. I think he's made $220,000 on his GoFundMe, give or take. And more just, thank yous from his family and stuff. So at least he's back home. But it took him over a week in critical care before being allowed back home.
Well, who said the other day they've never seen something like that in wrestling before? I think Dave Meltzer said that. And I've never seen anything like that either. But I've never seen a guy just straight off the street. I've seen guys mostly off the street, but they've never been asked to go in the ring and beat a guy up till you knock him out. That's what basically they told him to do. Mm-hmm. Go out there and give him a receipt. And he just ended up hitting him. I counted 22 times. Maybe it's 20 because a couple of the shots went in the middle of his chest and, the ribs. But he beat the hell out of that guy and intended to do it. And people said, oh, well, it stemmed from the beer can incident in the locker room. He tapped the guy with a beer can. People are acting like he just hauled off and just knocked the hell out of him. No, his head didn't even move. And it would just show that, boom. And they finally told SykoStu he's not a worker. And it's been years since I've heard that. Oh, he's not a worker. Real wrestlers really don't even talk that way. They say, oh man, he don't even know what you're talking about. But they said, oh, he's not a worker. And but I've never seen that done. Now, my next question is, if it does come down to a suit, in your opinion, would WWE be named in this? Because that's the money player.
I'd say yes. I'd say they'd be named. I don't know if they get any money out of it, but the school, I mean, if there is a suit, it'll definitely be Roger Jackson. It will definitely be the school, because there's on camera that co-owner, Black Pearl, Rikishi's cousin, saying you can go and, you know, F him up, etc., etc., get your revenge, get a receipt in the ring kind of thing. He's on camera saying it. I mean, he's given the green of green lights there. And then there's more. I mean, you could argue that cowboy guy who, AJ Manor, he's called, who brought him to the show. He might end up in the lawsuit, although apparently he's not got any money.
He will be in the lawsuit. He's a major player. He brought him there. How did he know the kid?
Don't know, but he's the one. He's the one who brought him there. He's the one who's apparently friends with him. So, you know, he was responsible for sort of vouching for him in the locker room. I was thinking, you know, back in the day, Dutch, let's say Memphis or wherever in the 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Did you ever bring relatives or even friends in the locker room?
Well, you could, but they would stay up, you know, at just the entrance to the dressing room, and the guy, he might bring some people around and introduce them, but he never introduced them to his opponent. Said, "Oh, this is a guy I'm wrestling tonight." No, he would, if he was a baby face, he'd introduce them to all the baby faces, then they would leave. Or if he was a heel, he'd introduce them to the heels, then they would leave. See, when you brought people in the dressing room, you maintained that fourth wall, and they were on a need-to-know basis only. So why give them information that they don't need to have? Yes. That was never done back in the day. No, because we operated, you know, with a wall of what they call kayfabe. And if people didn't need to know, they didn't need to know. And we didn't tell them.
So the cowboy wrestler who brought Roger Jackson to the show is called AJ Manor. And also on camera, he gassed this dude up and was saying, you know, go F him up, go tag him, get in the ring, get him, you know, like really explicitly saying, you know, get your revenge.
Receipt. He said, get your receipt. You know what a receipt is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't know what a receipt was. He just said yes.
Oh, there's a complete contradiction here, because he was saying, oh, when I was on camera saying that, I was as a character saying that. So it's like, okay, so one, why are you saying it as a character but using insider terms as a character? But also then, why are you using wrestling lingo to a non-wrestler who apparently has no idea what a receipt is?
Well, whether he was a wrestler or he was really who he was, he still didn't understand it. So he was just talking. And, okay, how do you think this is going to end?
Lawsuit. I'm with you. I don't think
it'll
be arrested.
Well, this is a criminal charge. It has to go to trial. I mean,
I wonder if it won't.
Charge.
It's a week and a half, man. Week and a half and not been arrested. I mean, what is stopping the LAPD from taking action?
I don't know that. And I've been looking every day and to see if Raja Jackson has been arrested, or if he won't be in jail. They might not even put him in jail. He'll make his bond real quick, and he probably won't even go inside of a cell. But did you read about, or did you hear about, he's got two other kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're Japanese kids. I don't know if they're his or not.
Yeah, they are. They are. He had like a Japanese wife, I think.
Did you read that he put money aside for their college education?
Yep.
But for his other two kids, he called it bail money.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a lot of faith in them, did he?
No, well, you know, they proved him right. The cowboy guy has found that he was fired not only from the wrestling school, but he was also fired from his real life job, stemming from his part in the incident. Okay,
now, what does he do?
I don't know. It just says he was fired. I don't know what he did.
And I
doubt it was brain surgery.
I heard that him and SykoStu work at the same place.
Oh, what you mean? Not the wrestling place?
No, another place, and they work at the same place.
I don't know about that.
They talk about working at a ranch. Both of them working at a ranch. I guess they're cowboys, I guess.
I'm just having a look now. Revealed he's
SykoStu doesn't look like a cowboy, though.
No. No, I can't find the job thing. We'll leave that there for now. Anyway, he also did an interview where he doubled down playing up how the cowboy guy, he was the ultimate victim, while blaming management for everything, including how Black Pearl, the co-owner, was the one to tell Roger to get his revenge during his spot on the show, which is true, he did. And that, AJ Manor was only following orders, and I was like, well, that's the Nuremberg trials defense. Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't. Not my fault. Someone else told me what to do, kind of thing. Right. So there's.
All right. Let's look into the future. I want everybody listening to us today to look into the future and tell me where you think this is going, or how it will end.
Civil suits. I think it's likely he'd win, but the thing is, unless he's getting money from WWE, he won't make a ton of money from it.
No, he won't make anything from it with just that bunch.
Probably, if he does get sued, if the school gets sued successfully, they'll just declare bankruptcy and probably not spend anything.
And go across the street and open up another one.
Yeah, most likely.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I think the best they can hope for is a criminal.
Hey, they could call our attorney, Mr. Burbrower.
He could do.
He'd get them out of it. So, folks, if you're looking for an attorney for anything,
to get you out of the beatings
call
that you're
Mr.
handing out.
Adam Burbrower in Poughkeepsie, New York, and he'll get you out of it.
Right. So there was a booking hoax. Danger Pro Wrestling in San Diego, California, announced that they had booked Roger Jackson. They even posted a little graphic for him and everything. Of course, this was met with a mixture of apoplexy and people throwing their hands in the air, despairing at the sad nature of pro wrestling and how there will always be one promoter to lower the bar. As Dutch wears a comb in his mustache at this time. In what many saw as a shocking turn of events, this is from Cultaholic, San Diego-based Danger Pro Wrestling announced on social media they booked him, but then they didn't announce a future date, they didn't announce an opponent, and then there were no details of where the show would be at, and then apparently it was suggested after the fact that it was just one great big joke, and that after the fact they said that they pulled Roger from his booking that didn't exist, and that it was all a publicity stunt, and that WWE has pulled their ID, the WWE ID, they've pulled their affiliation, which of course they don't have one. So it could have all just been one big sort of joke, I guess.
It was. Let's delve into something here. And I don't understand this. How do those WWE ID franchises work? Are they a franchise or no?
I don't know if I'd say it's a franchise, but what it works is if there's a school who's in the WWE ID system, I think it means that WWE are taking a closer look at that school and their students, and then also if somebody is a WWE ID wrestler, that means essentially they're free to take their own bookings, but WWE I think might be paying them a little bit extra on top, and then when it comes time, if they're offered a contract by any wrestling promotion, WWE has the right to match it and they'd be forced to sign with them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So who else has one? Seth Rollins has one, right?
Yeah, Cody Rhodes has one. Booker T has one. There's a couple of others.
You think Kane has one?
No, I don't think Dr. Tom and Kane do have one, no. Devon doesn't have one either.
Who doesn't have one?
Devon Dudley. He doesn't have one. But yeah, there's only like 5 schools. Rikishi doesn't have one. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Not now.
That was rescinded, yeah.
Okay. Do they pay these guys anything to get on the WWE ID franchise list?
Maybe they get a little bit of extra money to run the school, maybe. So, that'll cut fairly deep.
It would help the school if they say we're associated with WWE, because that's an in for the guys that are the students because now they say, well, now I'll be noticed a little bit. And it is a good selling point for them. But I thought they had more than 5. They have any in Florida?
I don't think so. I can give you the full list if you want.
Yeah, let's hear that. That's good information to know.
Right. Okay.
Like if you're in Walmart one day and somebody comes up to you out of the blue and says, "Do you happen to know how many WWE ID franchises they are?" You would have the answer. So we're helping you out, folks. Pay attention here.
Okay, then. So, Reality of Wrestling, which is Booker T's, Black and Brave Academy, which is Seth Rollins, Nightmare Factory, which is Cody's, Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center, and Knox Pro Academy, which it isn't. So now there's only 4.
No, only 4.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty elite.
Yeah, pretty elite. Right.
So they don't have one in New York or up north. They don't have one down south in Florida.
No, Texas. That's Booker's.
Well, wouldn't Booker T have one in Texas?
Yep. That is it.
Okay.
Right. I want to get to the Rampage Jackson post because we've got a few more things to.
Hey, we need to start one.
With this. We what?
We need to start one.
You've started a school once, or you trained people once, and you said you'd never do it again.
Oh yeah, it's a pain in the butt. It really is.
Right, I'm gonna do the quick version of this. Rampage Jackson posted once again. He's saying, "This has gone too far. I'm sick of being quiet and letting all the low IQ people fall for clickbait." I'm pretty sick.
Wait a minute. Who is saying this?
Rampage Jackson.
Low IQ.
I'm sick of stupid people calling other people low IQ. That's been happening a lot recently, let me tell you.
Oh.
Yes, my son took things too far, and I'm upset with him for being a POS and the way he handled it. But if Stu wasn't drunk and wouldn't have hit my son over the head with a real beer can while he was live streaming on his own stream, then Knox blah, blah, blah. Look, all it is like, yeah, my son did wrong. But, you know,
yes.
If Stu hadn't lightly tapped my son on the head with a beer can in a misunderstanding, then he wouldn't have been beaten half to death. So basically just semi-absolving his piece of crap kid, basically.
How much of that tape of that did you watch? All of it that you could?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I watched the entire live stream pretty much from cover to cover.
Okay, did you watch the one when where he was outside walking to his car and he said, "I'm sick and tired of people messing with me, man. Yeah, F this, F that." And some guy come out of the locker room or come out of the building, had a mask on. What was the guy telling him? To leave or get out of there or what?
No, one or the other, I don't know. But, you know, that wasn't heeded, I guess. I think he was in face paint. It just seems weird that just a guy randomly would be on the street in face paint. But, yeah, that was depressing. Right then, let's wrap it up quickly, really, because we want to get to the crappy takes. I said on one of my videos this would be the last time I'd mention it. So, Chael Sonnen, UFC fighter. Some people have done videos, you know, most people have had good takes on it. Some people have had horrendous takes, and these are 3 of them. Chael Sonnen, while declaring that he was friends with Rampage Jackson and Raja Jackson prior to saying anything, said Raja was a lovely, nice, calm boy, and that, you know, he was very respectful and he was a great kid and everything. And, yeah, he might have taken things a little bit too far, but, you know, hey, he's not a pro wrestler. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's trained as an MMA guy to just keep on hitting. And, you know, all these nonsenses, you know. It's like somehow he didn't realise that, you know, beating somebody up unconscious was like a bad thing because he's just a kid. 25, 26-year-old kid.
And if that's his defense, if they do have a trial, I don't think you get a whole jury to decide that he intended to do that.
I worry about that. I wonder if a very good lawyer could muddy the waters enough that there'd be just enough doubt. I genuinely think that.
Hey, if he has a trial and it goes to a jury of 12 of your, you know, the same citizens as you are,
peers,
I don't think they would get a conviction out of that.
I genuinely wonder that as well. I really do. I imagine, just remember how stupid the average person on the street is, and then remember that half of those people are stupider than that. So you could have at least a couple of morons on that jury, not knowing the difference between fake punches and real.
It's amazing sometimes.
It is.
What you get on a jury.
Right. Rob Van Dam. So many moronic takes that it's even tough to know where to start. He tweeted out, this is quote, "So far, I got Rogers back. Looking forward to talking about it tomorrow on my podcast. So straight away, he's got Rogers back on a tweet. Loads of people tweeting him back and said, what are you talking about? And then on his show, I guess, he said, oh, just because I tweeted that I've got Rogers back doesn't mean I'm defending him. And it's like...
Well, it sounds like if you got his back, you're on his side, you're defending him.
Yeah. Oh, well, you must be one of the basic thinkers, the idiots that he constantly... Yeah, the haters that he's constantly mentioning. Honestly, like, he was good at gymnastics, I guess, in real life, but the mental gymnastics are just, far and away superior here.
So what did he mean by that?
Nothing. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. Badly. You know what it's like, talking in circles, talking in riddles, can't, defend anything with actual logic. Then he went on like an hour diatribe of nonsense where he claimed, among other things, that having somebody's back doesn't mean you support them. That because Raja does MMA, he is trained to keep hitting until he is stopped, which is not true. Do you know what you train to do? Is you train to beat the other person, and then if they look dead, then you don't keep hitting them. And then he was like, well, in MMA, they do that. It's like, no, the vast majority don't. And it's like, well, the referee didn't stop him. It's like, well, if you're in a street fight or whatever, you generally don't beat the guy up till they're dead. It's like...
Yeah, well, that is true. But you know who caught a lot of heat in this too?
Go on.
Is the referee of that match.
As he should.
Huh?
As he should.
I think he was... he didn't know what was going on. This is what... I'm going to let the referee off on this because he was a young kid. And I don't even think they even told him what was going to happen. I don't even think they told Stu what was going to happen. I think it was just something that happened that nobody knew. They said, oh, they pre-planned it. They didn't pre-plan anything. I don't think, because I think Stu would have been waiting for him to come into the ring, and he looked like he was, and he gave him a slam, and then he hit his head, and from that point out, he don't remember anything. And slam knocked him out, and then Roger did the rest with his fist. But the referee, I think they said, why didn't he jump in? I think he was afraid to jump in because he thought that I may be messing something up here. Because it happened within a period of about 10 seconds.
I don't buy that because, there were children screaming in the crowd.
Wait a minute,
pointing out that it wasn't.
Your Honor, I object. Yeah. The defense attorney over here is becoming obstinate.
If kids in the crowd can start screaming and crying, saying, this isn't right, what's happening, he's hitting him for real, then the referee can.
Okay, this is my point of contention. They didn't start screaming after he was out.
But he was out on the slam 22 punches later.
But he was out on, I'm agreeing with you. He was out on the slam, but not enough for the people to know that.
No, maybe not that, but after 22 unanswered punches, then yeah, everybody knew that this wasn't how it's supposed to be going. I've got more Rob Van Dam pills of wisdom for you, Dutch.
Let me hear this.
So,
do I have time to hear Rob Van Dam's, what do you call it, pearls of wisdom?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So Rob also insists that Roger was just doing what he was told. I mean, he wasn't obviously told to knock the guy out and hit him 24 times.
AJ Manna told him to do it.
Yep. In a roundabout way. He also said that Stu might have agreed to the beating, but then Roger took it too far. I suggest highly unlikely. And then basically just tried to absolve Roger every step of the way, including this one, Dutch. You'll love this. He said, well, hey, Roger might not have known that he was knocked out because every single time he was punching Stu's unconscious head, that meant his head was moving. So therefore, in Roger's mind, maybe that meant he was still awake.
I'm not buying that, but that's probably what they were saying.
Yeah, I think it's just like the total...
How did you know he was out? Because his hands weren't moving and blocking?
I mean, that's a fairly good...
If you get tagged a good shot, your hands are going to come up.
Yeah. He also throughout kept... This is incessantly. I listened to the entire drivel. Also called everybody who was disagreeing with him. People on his own show, and every single comment pretty much was disagreeing with him or calling him out. He called them all basic thinkers, idiots, haters, people with low substance. I mean, just like it's the most obnoxious 1 hour of "I'm right and you're wrong" by someone who's clearly wrong. And then
this was Rob Van Dam.
It was, yeah. It was just terrible. It was just a terrible take after terrible take, and then doubling down on it. Then Mark Henry's was not only terrible. This might even be worse. He doubled down on his take with stuff that you won't even believe. So he had no idea what actually happened. He said that in this TMZ interview where we get these original quotes and pearls of wisdom once again. He said, I didn't really see all of it. I don't really know what happened, but, obviously he's going to give his uninformed opinion. He described the beer can as a bottle and that Stu smashed it over Raj's head, which is kind of not right at all.
No.
And then he kept equating that situation with his own horrible situation in a WWF locker room in 1996, which bore no relation. They have no correlation at all, those two things.
I was there the day that Mark Henry, they apparently put...
Ooh, were you?
Yes, I was there.
That's right, tell the entire story.
Well, I went and we was all sitting around the TV or something, but I heard that Mark Henry was pissed off, really pissed off. And I went, well, why? Apparently, I think somebody had put some doo-doo in his food, which is horrible. And he was rightfully, he wanted to kill somebody. And everybody was running from Mark Henry because he was trying to find out who did it. And I think, some people knew who it was, but they weren't giving it up. And I didn't know about it either. I didn't know who would do that, because that to me is that's bullcrap to do that to anybody. So, and if he'd have found them, he would have hurt them. But he was really on the warpath that day, and he kept, even when the show was over, he was still looking around like, who of these SOBs would do this? And you can imagine that you can't imagine how bad something is until you put yourself in their place. If it had happened to you, happened to me, or anybody listening, you would be rightfully and justifiably mad about it and wanting to get back at somebody, except you don't know who to get back at. So, but I was there that day, was at TV, and he hadn't been there long. What year was this? 96?
96, yeah.
Yep. And I can't remember where it was. You know where it was?
No, I don't know.
But
well, it would have been like the late summer or autumn of 96 probably, because I guess he was still on, or maybe late 96, because I guess he was on crutches at the time, and people kept hiding his crutches. And then I guess someone hid his crutches to get him out of the catering or whatever, and then slipped in a stink pickle in his sandwich.
A what?
A stinky pickle. So yeah, no wonder Mark Henry was hopping mad. The reason that people apparently hated him... Oh, I've got two things, actually. One, the reason that people apparently hated him is because he had a guaranteed contract of like $250,000 a year for 10 years, which was really big money back in the day. And most people weren't making that, or, the majority on the roster. But the other thing is, a few years ago, Mark Henry did an interview where he said that never happened to him. No one slipped a doo-doo in his sandwich, because he then said that happened to The Rock. And it wasn't me, it was The Rock.
I don't remember it being The Rock. The Rock wasn't there at the time.
I think you're right. So to get to more of the things...
So wait a minute. I cannot confuse The Rock with Mark. I just can't.
So Mark Henry says a few other things. Once again, he's complaining about the WWF locker room in '96. Once again, no bearing on things. Stu deserved more blame. Here's the thing. He says that Stu deserved more blame in this situation than Raja. And then he said that...
Do you buy that?
No, of course not. Not to that extent. Anyway, he also said that Stu made the business look bad because now we know that Stu can't fight. And it's like...
He's knocked out.
Yeah, he didn't even know he was in a fight.
No. See, he gave up the slam, and then he hit his head. He's gone. That's happened to me before. But see, he was put down on his kind of his butt first, so the whiplash went on his head. He's gone. And how I knew he was out was because when he started hitting him, his arms never came up to protect himself.
Mark Henry also made sure to put over WWE about how WWE is so wonderful. Had nothing to do with WWE, but, you have to slip that in. Tons of contradictions and a total inability.
Okay, should we slip it in here?
Yeah, WWE is great.
WWE is great. So
tons
get
of
right. Who's your editor?
Oh, Chris.
Chris, get that in. Make sure you get that in.
So, total inability to put forth a cogent point. He obviously didn't know all of the facts, quite frankly, and then he went on another interview and doubled down and saying that anybody who disagreed with him must be a racist, and that he then went on to say that Mark Henry himself could not be a racist because he is black. And black people cannot be racist.
I don't get that. I have never gotten that.
We are dealing with very much single to low double-digit IQs here, I think, in that kind of reason.
And that surprises me Mark would say something like that. Because anybody can be racist.
Yeah, look at Mark Henry.
Yeah, that's what I'm... and I don't know. Don't get me going.
No, right. We're going to leave it there then. Let's go on to The Rock. We mentioned The Rock before. So The Smashing Machine is out. Well, it's not out for general release, but it was at the Venice Film Festival. He looked quite different, Dutch. We can talk...
Wow.
Do you want to talk about The Rock's appearance, or do you want to talk about the trailer first? Whichever you want.
Can we see the trailer? We can see that.
No.
Why?
Because then this episode will get pulled down.
Just seeing a trailer, I thought they wanted it advertised.
Yeah, but we can't use it.
Okay, I watched the trailer. At first look, you can't even tell it's The Rock. It was almost a different voice, which speaks of Rock's ability to morph into the character. Didn't sound like Rock. It really didn't look like Rock at all. And if I hadn't have known that it was The Rock, I would have never. If you'd have asked me without me reading that, this movie was made and he was in it, and if you just shown me that clip, said, who is this actor? I couldn't tell you. And this was at the Cannes Film Festival?
No, Venice Film Festival.
Venice.
Yeah.
He got a hell of a damn ovation for it. They said 15 minutes.
Yep. They say 15-minute standing ovation.
Isn't that a long time to get a standing ovation?
I've already left it in my car and halfway home 15 minutes after the credits.
I already went down to Cracker Barrel. And that's another story. I already went down to McDonald's, got my food. I'm gone.
Oh, just very quickly, apparently the Cracker Barrel people have reverted back to the old logo.
Oh, they have?
Yeah. So you can go back there now.
Oh. Well, I never liked it before that much. When I turned off Cracker Barrel, I went in there one day and they were really chintzy. You like that word, chintzy? Mm-hmm. Really chintzy on their portions. I mean, it was like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I said, well, if you're going to be this chintzy about it, I just won't come back anymore. And I didn't go back. I hadn't been in a Cracker Barrel in, I bet, 20 years, at least. more, maybe 30 years.
Well, do you know what? Cracker Barrel's probably not going to see The Rock in there anytime soon because he's gone on some weight management system. He's either started taking stuff or he's stopped taking stuff, Dutch, but he looks way thinner. They say he's lost 60 pounds in probably 5 months.
I was going to say at least 50 pounds. But to me, he still looks good. You think he looks too skinny?
Well, I'm used to The Rock as 260 plus, I guess. He looks... do you remember when we saw not too long ago Batista, and he'd lost so much weight and then wore pearls?
Batista, to me, looked sickly almost. The Rock doesn't look sickly, but he does look like it, and it's very obvious when you see him. Wow, has he lost weight? A lot of people say, hey, he trimmed up. I couldn't tell he trimmed up, but he had on a nice shirt, nice pair of pants, and of course his facial looks the same. His face looks the same, but you could tell. And I said he's lost at least 50 pounds. What is he weighing now?
Well, I think in wrestling terms, he's probably weighed as much as 280 or 285, over the years. He was probably 265 something. So, I mean, he's probably lost, he probably weighs more like 220 or something, maybe even less.
Yep. Okay, so what was your question about The Rock?
Well, basically, I mean, this is pretty drastic change. I've got a couple of questions. One, you've already answered. You said, no, he looks good. He still looks good. But I think when people of a certain age, and heck, if I lost a lot of weight, I'd probably look older as well. But you like a certain size for so long, and then you lose weight really quickly. It makes you look older. I always think, like it plumps out your wrinkles and stuff like that. But, now he's lost a lot of weight. I think he looks quite a lot older than he did. But other than that, you say, no, he looks better for it. Do you think he looks better for it?
Well, I thought he was a little too big before. Carrying that extra weight like that is very hard. It's hard on you. It's hard on your body, hard on your knees, and your ankles probably carrying all that weight. Plus, it's I guess hard on your heart. Or did I say that?
No, you didn't.
So, but who was the role he was playing?
He's
smashing what?
Smashing Machine. He's playing Mark Kerr. Now, in that film, he's like 265, 270. He's huge in that. But apparently, he may have lost weight either for health reasons or because he's got an upcoming role in a Martin Scorsese movie relating to Hawaii's only mob boss that's going to be filming soon. So, yeah, that might be either one or both might be the reason.
Well, I think this movie will do well. Mark Kerr, are you familiar with him?
Yeah, he was one of my favorites back in the early days of UFC. I
remember him for some reason.
He was only on 2 UFC events.
Maybe that was the time I was in jail. They didn't have a TV, had a radio, didn't have a TV. So,
well, in fairness, you probably didn't have Japanese TV, which is where he more predominantly fought in.
Oh, so he was in Japan where he made his mark?
Well, he won 2 UFC tournaments, I think, back to back, and then he went to Pride FC in Japan and became an even bigger star there. And then he ended up being hooked on the painkillers and took a huge toll on his personal life and professional life and health.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still alive, which is good.
Yeah, well. So he didn't OD or anything off the drugs.
Well, he didn't die. So, I mean, he probably did OD at some point. Who knows? Here's the other thing I want to ask you about The Rock then. So he's so much slimmer now. Do you think he's done with wrestling? Or do you think...
Rock?
Yeah, or do you think in a year's time he will put on the weight and get back in the ring again or, be a character on the show?
Oh, the thing about wrestling is you don't quit the wrestling quits you. That's the way it works. So, and I think if he wanted at any time, say in the next 10 years, I think The Rock will still maintain a great body. He'll still work out because that's a lifestyle. But I think anytime WWE needs him or wants him, or TKO wants him, that he could be available for for a match or anything else, or just a spokesman, or just to fill in like he was doing before. Yeah, I think he would fit right in. The Rock needs no get over time because they booked The Rock. Everybody, the world knows who The Rock is.
Yeah, but do you think he'll want to be in trunks at 215 pounds? Or do you think he'll try and bulk up again if he does actually wrestle?
No, he will bulk up again. Because I've seen guys, now these are guys that didn't have the use of enhancers, and they could bulk up and down in a month. I'd see a guy, he'd be kind of skinny, and all of a sudden he gets on the steroids, and you see him again, he's put on like almost 20 pounds. And that's a lot of weight to put on in a month. And I said, what happened to you? He said, I just went back working out. Yeah, you went back working out with some help. But those guys could really, really bulk up. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing to see it. I mean, I saw it and didn't believe it. On a guy named Don Fargo. You ever heard of Don Fargo?
Oh, yeah.
He was a crazy, crazy bastard and a good guy. Here's a story about Don Fargo. He had a brother called, just put any first name there, and they were posing as bikers. So the Hells Angels went to a match that they were in. It was in Ohio somewhere. And all the Hells Angels showed up, and he went to the ring. Yeah, go. And he was a heel, and they were cheering the hell out of him. Of course, nobody said anything to the Hells Angels because people said over there, said, I won't boo him because they might look over here and see me. So they thought they were big fans. So they invited them to come out with them that night for a little party. Well, they went. And they damn near killed both of them. They got them out there. Now they had them where they wanted them. I think they beat the hell out of his partner, and Don somehow got away. And I guess he found his buddy the day after, and he was beat all to hell. And they didn't know these guys, so they don't know who did it. So, and this is back in like the 60s, the late 60s, early 70s. But I don't think, I think Don Fargo dropped his biker gimmick right then. But I don't know what, I think it's probably documented somewhere, but he told me this story. Said they got him out there and they's all patting him on the back and drink this and drink that. And hey, you want something to eat? And then all of a sudden, they just started beating the hell out of him. And Don said, hey, I just lucky I could get away. They were out like they weren't in a bar anymore. They were out in like the woods somewhere. And he said he ran off, spent the night in the woods, and finally the next day when the sun came up, he found somebody and they took him in and he found his way back home somehow. That's the story. And they told him that, what they were trying to tell him is, hey, don't use the biker gimmick because you're not entitled to do it.
Which is funny because you remember Hillbilly Jim? He was called Harley Davidson, wasn't he, in Memphis?
Memphis is a little different, though. Yeah. Harley Davidson. But Harley Davidson wasn't the name of a group. It wasn't Hells Angels or the Prophets or whatever. He was the name of a motorbike, of a motorcycle, Harley Davidson. So nobody would get mad at him at that. But if you the Hells Angels or the Devils of Apocalypse or what's
like the Mongols, I know that was one as well.
Yeah, something like that. That group would take offense at that because it's their name and you were kind of using it to not poke fun, but just using their name without permission, and they didn't like that.
Right, Dutch, someone just wrote to me. and said, I posted a video as we record this 3 hours ago about like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and slimming down and everything. And someone wrote to me and said, "Oh, by the way, you've just been added to the Wikipedia page on the cast list." One sec. I'm going to...
I can't see that.
No, I can't even see it. Anyway, someone's, for some reason on Wikipedia, has added my name, and I'm now the ring announcer in the Smashing Machine. I didn't even know it was there.
Really?
Yeah, there you go.
Added your name?
Yeah, apparently I'm on the cast list. Amazing. I might get a card, an equity card.
Wait a minute. That's a shoot?
Someone's added my name as a joke.
Oh, okay.
But
okay,
yeah.
I got it.
There we go. Right, okay, let's move on. So WWE Raw from Paris, France. And, Clash in Paris happened on the weekend. We're not really going to be talking about that. We've got too much else to talk about, really. And you said, 1, the crowd was amazing, and 2, you really enjoyed the segment with CM Punk and Becky Lynch. So, talk about both.
Let me say one thing about that. This is the second time I've seen Paris. This was...
Have you been?
Say what?
Have you been to Paris? Yeah.
Oh, I've been there.
With WWE or?
Yeah, I'm saying Paris on the show, Raw, or what was this, Raw, or this was
Raw? This was Raw.
Okay, that crowd was red hot, and they were jammed in there. They were packed in there. So it was almost like if you weren't there, it was an experience, and it was. So, and you sent me this clip, and I've seen a little bit of it, but not all of it. So I watched it for you and for all the people who tune in to see what we think about certain things. But this is one of the best segments I have seen in a long, long time. And the reason being, and this is what Jerry Jarrett, this is one of the first things I learned about what things get over with people, how to be a booker. Because if you're listening to this argument between CM Punk, who is over like a son of a gun, and what was her name again? Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Because this tit for tat or argument or quarrel or disagreement sounded real. It didn't sound like it was produced. It didn't sound like it was rehearsed. Because, hey, CM Punk is very good on interviews. He is great. And she was too. So when they went back and forth, and they left it at the perfect spot with you thinking, okay, where is this going? Because I want to see where it's going now. Because that argument back and forth between the two, and Becky Lynch calling herself the man, which was great. And I'm thinking every man out there is saying, God, I'd hate to be married to that woman. Because she's just irritating enough that you want to reach over and slap the hell out of her. Of course, a man can't hit a woman, but I'm saying, thank God that most men aren't married to women like that, because she'd tell the guy what to do. And her calling herself the man, perfect. But I really, really enjoyed that back and forth between them. And then Seth came out toward the end. And when they broke it off, she was just running that mouth. And he's walking away. And you could see on his face, I just like to just beat the living crap out of her. And now you just feel this. As a man, you feel that, well, he can't really do that. But he could, but, people would be all over him, a man beating up a woman. And he's pissed off. And every man could identify with that. And even women, too. Women could say, boy, and I think women secretly love that she got the best of a man. So very good. And it was long, too. I think it went 15 minutes. between their entrances and back and forth. And that Paris crowd, they ate it up. Of course, I'm an American crowd. I enjoyed it. Very, very well done, well executed, well produced, and left with a story that they can add to it. So I think they'll have money out of this.
Speaking of a story they can add to it, the fans started chanting for AJ Lee. Now, AJ Lee is the...
See, that story writes itself. They're calling, AJ Lee, she has to come in at some point. Whether she wrestles or not, she has to come in. And you know that. Now I'm hearing that she doesn't want to come in because she is going to get a ton when she comes in. Because TKO, I don't think they're chintzy with money like Vince was.
Hey, the more she holds out.
No, that's right. The more she holds out. And CM Punk, he was the king of negotiators, I imagine. And he's telling her to hold out. And who knows what she might get to come in and do a pay-per-view. She may, for most people, for her to make a few TVs and a pay-per-view, that's their year. And she may get for this. And if she can produce what they think her and CM can produce, she's well worth the money. But it was a very, very good segment. It wasn't rushed, and it was executed perfectly.
Have you got any memories of AJ Lee back in the day when she was wrestling? I believe you were both in the company at the same time. Yeah, she had some big storylines, with Bryan Danielson and such.
Boy, she was a heel in that women's locker room.
Really?
Oh, God. She was a heat-seeking magnet. She could walk through, and you could see when she walked through and a girl saw her, you could look at the girls' faces, and they go, oh, God, I hate that bitch. But she liked that. I don't think she cared. She wanted them disliking her. I think she felt better when she can tee them all off. And she would just, I don't know what it was about her. There's some people just heat seekers, and she's one of them, especially with the other girls.
I would think that she just really wasn't there very long. I mean, when did she leave? 2015? I'm just having a look at WWE. She was only there, she left in 2015. She was in NXT until 2011. She only had a 4-year run on the main roster.
I was there in 2013, 2014.
And 15.
And part of 15, because I got hurt then. My feelings got hurt. So, but yeah, she was she was a heel in the dressing room. And she just took that with her to the ring.
Was she a heel with you?
No, not really. But I didn't, after I heard how much the girls didn't like her, and I was hearing this straight from the mouths of some of the girls. I said, why don't you like that girl? Well, she's a this and this and this and this. She ran her mouth too, and she didn't back up either. See, most of those girls were bigger than AJ, but she didn't back down. She didn't care. If you don't like me, fine. And then she met CM Punk. And then I think after she met him, that's when she left. When did CM Punk leave?
He left beginning of 2014. She left somewhere in 2015. So she did stick around for a bit longer after the fact. And then and then when, she left to get married, I guess, to CM Punk, then she never really returned to wrestling afterwards.
No.
She was part briefly for Women of Wrestling a couple of years ago. That was about it. Though she didn't wrestle, though. She just did colour commentary. There's one more thing I want to bring up. And it's not AJ Lee, but I wanted to mention AJ Styles. Had you realise that he is actually the most popular wrestler in the history of France? Because he came out And the crowd sang his song for like 2.5 minutes before they went to commercial.
Mm-hmm.
He got like the Hulk Hogan treatment out there. So there you go. AJ's very popular in France.
Well, yeah, they've adopted him as one of their native sons, I guess.
I guess it must be that silky hair that they appreciate. Or that maybe no, never mind. I was going to say something else.
I'll say one thing about AJ Styles. They could have picked a lesser wrestler, but they didn't. They picked him. They chose him. So, and I think they made a good choice. AJ's a good guy, tremendous in the ring. Now, when I was in TNA with him, he had an opportunity to go to WWE then, and he turned it down. You know why he turned it down?
Tell me.
Money. They didn't give him any money. You know what they wanted to give him to go into NXT? What do the NXT people make?
Oh, they can make some really low money, I think, still. As we say, main roster nowadays is $350, but NXT, you could really lowball people if you wanted to.
It was like $500 a week or $600 a week. He said, no. And what he said was, hell, I can make more than that just on independents. He said, I make 3 times that on just the independents. So I don't blame him for not doing that.
That's why he left TNA as well, is because Dixie tried to cut his deal by like 60% or something like that.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what kind of deal did he have before?
Well, I don't know the numbers. I just know that they wanted to cut his contract to more than half. And he was like, from day one, AJ Styles was like the franchise player with TNA. And
that's what they intended for. That's what they intended for him to be. I saw AJ one day, and he was sitting there, and he looked like he was really teed off. And you can tell when somebody's teed off because I said, "Man, you okay?" He said, "No, not really." He wasn't mad or anything. See, I think AJ had a good setup. His wife was a teacher, and she had a good job. So it's not like if he didn't have this job at TNA, it really wasn't going to affect him that much, because I think she made enough that they could still live till he found something else. And he told me, he said, these people here, they're idiots, complete idiots. I said, who? He said, you know who I'm talking about. He didn't say Dixie's name. I says, what's it about? He said, man, I don't even want to get into it. I said, well, don't get into it then. So, but now that you tell me, and when somebody sits around like that and they're teed off, it's usually over a financial matter or a money matter. And he was supposed to be the face of TNA, and I could not believe that they wasn't treating him better and with more respect. So when he felt disrespected, he said, okay, I'm leaving. Then he went to Japan for a couple of years, I think. What was that company he went to?
New Japan.
I don't think so.
AJ did wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom, so I think he was associated. I think he pretty much went everywhere. But AJ, but yeah, he was almost like Cody Rhodes before Cody Rhodes. He sort of remade his name on the indies to the point that WWE couldn't ignore him. And I think he signed in 2016 with WWE. And kept his name as well, because at that time they were trying to rename everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how could you rename anything else? He had the words A and J, in massive tattooed ink on his ribs.
What if they called him J.A. Manners instead of AJ Styles? His Manners.
So just the politest wrestler.
Yeah, just he kept the 2 first initials, but just the reverse J.A.
So it'd be J-A-M, so Jam.
Yeah, Jam. That'd be a good name for him.
Right.
But he was somebody asked me one time, said, where did AJ learn all this stuff? I says, I think he's somewhat of a gymnast too, and a good athlete. And I says, well, I guess he saw this stuff, and But some guys, when they get into wrestling, they have just a built-in barometer over what it takes to be successful in wrestling. And it's okay if you know the moves and even know where to put the moves in. But it's how you tell the story. And I heard AJ do an interview the other day, and his interviewing abilities have increased 500% because, he was having trouble doing interviews then. But as time went on, he learned more and more on his own. Because I've never heard of somebody taking interview classes. They got them. But somebody in wrestling teaching somebody else how to do an interview, you do an interview the same way you talk, basically. They say, be yourself, okay? And as he went on, he got better and better and better, because before he was stopping and starting and looking like he was, looking for something to say. But the last interview I saw him in, he was great, very good. So my hat's off to him.
There was one quite recently where someone was making fun of him for, I think it was like signing a contract or something, and they said to him, what are you going to do, put on your little glasses and read it? And then the interview continues, and then right at the end of it, AJ Styles pulls out his little reading glasses and starts reading the contract. Hey, he's nearly 50. Your eyes start failing at that point for the reading.
But I think he learned all this stuff, especially the moves, on the independents. But see, that's very rare for a guy to, he trained himself. I don't think anybody else trained him. He just watched tape. And I think he watched a lot of Japanese tape. And he put it all together, and he developed his style, and he was very, very good.
Apparently credited trained by Rick Michaels.
Who is that?
Don't really know. I think he was.
You know what that means to me?
Indy.
Rick Michaels, he probably just owned a ring that he could get in and bounce around in. And he said, how's that, Rick? Oh, good. Just keep it up. And he probably went in that ring and he probably took somebody with him, and he would spend hours and hours in that ring. But to practice a move like AJ does, that's a lot of abuse on the body. So, and he knew really when to put these spots in and when not to put them in. But they have to be, just to practice this, you have to be, I'm going to say, body appropriate, because don't do it over and over to hurt yourself. Do it because he had the right idea. I think he would pull a landing pad in the ring, because you can't take these bumps over and over again in practice. You're going to hurt yourself. So I think he would pull a pad in there and learn how to exactly what to do on the flip or whatever he did. And he got it down pat.
This will be interesting. This will be interesting for you. So Rick Michaels apparently trained AJ Styles, but who trained Rick Michaels? Bobby Fulton, Ricky Morton, and Ted Allen. So, you've got to get some good information from those.
Oh, yeah, you would. You would.
So, yeah. Right, okay, we're going to move on. Rhea Ripley.
Oh, Rick Michaels?
Yeah.
I don't know him.
No, okay, you still don't know him very good.
Yeah, he still owns the ring, though.
Rhea Ripley accosted. Now, you watched I'm presuming you watched the video. I
did watch that.
Right, tell us what happened. So Rhea Ripley was pretty upset by this.
Well, I don't blame her. Listen, anytime and she was by herself, she was in Paris, and somebody was videoing her from the second floor window or an overhang or something, and she was walking out to her car, and she was by herself. Of course, all the fans are rushing over to her, and they're all guys. They all rushing over to her, almost blocking the car to where she couldn't even open the door. That's very, very dangerous because you don't know who these people are, and they're speaking French. So unless you understand French, you don't know what they're saying, and I think it unsettled her a little bit, and she did an X. She posted on X, please, something about humanity. Don't crowd me. Don't cover me up. What did she say again?
She said, "Remember, we are people. Do not swarm me or anyone like a pack of rabid zombies," Ripley wrote on X. "No one should ever be pushed up against an Uber driver's door and completely mobbed like I just experienced. Use common courtesy and humanity. No means no. WTF." So this seems to be happening.
They mobbed her.
Yeah.
Now that was a Uber, and even the driver didn't get out and help her.
Well, I don't think I don't blame him. I mean,
well, I think it surprised him too. He didn't expect it. He didn't know what to do. But let me, and I've been a part of that. We used to get off the planes, and the fans would know when the plane was coming in.
Is it worse than in Europe? Did you find in your experience?
No, it's worse because the WWE doesn't go there that often. They might go, twice a year now?
3 times a year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And AEW's coming twice a year this year to the UK as well. It's the milk in the European market.
These people, and a lot of them are just card traders, autograph traders, but they're really trying to get close to one of the talents, but you don't know who they are. And one of them could very easily have a knife and just stick you with it. And you'd never know who did it. If there's a bunch of them, you get stuck in the back. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen.
Hey, do you know what's more likely, especially for a woman, is if you're surrounded by guys, one of them's going to cop a feel out of it. And they will, that's the thing.
Well, they were even feeling me over there.
Pulling on your mustache for luck.
No, I was trying to draw a crowd anyway. I said, over here.
No, but it must be 20 times more terrifying being a woman in that situation than a guy. I mean, especially if you're a wrestler with some size on you and everything. But
I do hate to see that, but they know what they're up against, so they should take precautions. I think they're going to have to start assigning security to some of these talents. But I think she was by herself, which just begs for them to glom her. A throng of people around her, and she's not knowing. And it's very dangerous. It very is. It really is. Because even a guy, if he's surrounded by other guys, he's still in danger. They could, anything. If somebody wants to make a name for them, they could throw something in their eyes or stick them something or throw something on them, and very dangerous. So when I saw that clip of her walking out to the Rhea Ripley walking to the car, boy, it looked dangerous as hell anyway. And you know me, I'm not afraid of nobody.
I've got to ask you this.
Wait a minute. Somebody's behind me.
Did women always get it worse than men as far as fans mobbing them?
Well, they have to. Because, they're not as, and I don't care what anybody says, a woman's not as strong as a man. She could probably beat half that crew that was around her. They were just like young guys, but there was like 20 there. You're not going to beat 20 guys. I mean, a lot of them just wanted her autograph. But if something happened out there, it would be dangerous for her. Right, and what was your question? Is it more dangerous for women than men?
Well, no, I'm sure it is more dangerous for women than men, but were women more likely to get mobbed rather than men?
Well, yeah. I doubt a lot of people were mobbing like The Undertaker. They would come up to him, but, if he looked at him and told them to get back, they'd get back because he had a tone about him and the size to back it up. So they would back up. Or, a big guy, get back. But a woman, and Rhea Ripley's probably one of the biggest ones. How tall is she? She's 6'1", right?
Well, Rhea Ripley, no. I think she's more like 5'8" or something. She's not enormous.
She's taller than that.
I'll see what she's billed as, but go on. Oh, you're going to wait for me to tell you the height?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you that she is billed as, eventually, 5'7" is what she's billed as. So she might not even be 5'7" if that's what she's billed as.
Well, she's got to be taller than that.
No. You're not going to make yourself shorter, are you, on the ring walk?
No.
Unless you're Mick Foley for some reason, because he did. Anyway, that's not the point, right?
He made himself shorter?
Yeah, he was at the time. He probably isn't now, but he was at the time 6'4", but he was billed at 6'2", because I guess he always had that sort of like hunched over walking kind of thing all the time. He never stood up straight, so they billed him shorter.
And you know why he didn't stand up straight?
Probably couldn't.
He couldn't. He'd take all those crazy bumps. The first time I saw Mick Foley, he did a bump off the top of a roof at a house through a table. You've seen that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, my God. But he was the type he was just a human punching bag. He used his body to, and now he can tell it, because you can tell it then. I can tell it. I never went off a roof. First of all, you couldn't have got me on the roof, first off. And, anybody that wanted to get more than 3 feet off the ground, I'll sit this one out. I'm not doing it.
Right, let's move on. And I'm dreading this one because I'm going to have to explain to you what a VPN is. Or do you know what a VPN is?
It's something to do with some kind of system that you can tell where it's coming from.
It's not the worst explanation I've heard. I was expecting worse.
Well, I don't know, VPN, virtual something.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to explain to you what it is, and then I'm going to tell you what the quote was from Stephanie McMahon.
You just want to explain to make me look stupid.
No, it's a good story, and I just like it, but it will have... Okay, right, so a VPN, it's a virtual private network. It can do different things, but basically it hides your IP and it hides where your location is that you're logging into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can make your computer, if you're based in the US, which you are, you can make the internet or whatever website, you can basically hide your location. So you can appear like you're coming from Australia or the UK or, Eritrea or wherever it might be. So here's the thing, and I've got to set this up for you, Dutch. I worked out that legally in the United States today, with the ESPN deal with WWE, to watch all WWE programming, you need to spend a minimum of about $89 a month for all the different subscriptions, right?
Yep.
In the UK, you need about $10 a month. The reason is because we don't have ESPN over-the-top streaming service. We don't have a lot of things. But all WWE programming is either on Netflix or Saturday night's main event is on YouTube for free, if you're outside the US, right? So for us, it costs $10 a month, the equivalent of, for you guys, it costs near $90. So anyway, with that being said, Stephanie McMahon has a podcast called Stephanie's Places.
Yeah.
It is a WWE podcast, and it is on ESPN+. As you know, WWE just signed a lucrative 5-year deal, $1.6 billion for 5 years, for all of the big shows, the PLEs, right?
On ESPN.
On ESPN.
Yeah.
So, WWE podcast, Stephanie McMahon, on an ESPN show, said, she didn't mention ESPN in this, but she said,
don't do it.
You should basically, don't do it. It's basically, instead of sitting around watching boring commercials and overspending money on watching all this WWE programming in the United States, you could get a VPN and then pretend you're from the UK or Australia or wherever else on Earth, and then watch all of the WWE shows ad-free and much cheaper than if you were in the US and spending it legally.
And she said that.
She said that.
Well, I read it, but I didn't exactly know what she was saying. But she's telling don't take the ESPN and pay what they want.
Yeah, and then watch all those boring adverts.
Now, what is a VPN, a virtual private network?
Yes, so you can hide your IP, and then therefore you can make it seem like you're coming from the UK, where it's an awful lot cheaper to watch WWE programming.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Think they'll say anything about that?
Well, supposedly there was a Fightful Select report, supposedly with a source from ESPN, claiming that ESPN wasn't thrilled about the VPN advertisement and ad read from Stephanie McMahon's podcast, but they initially thought that it wouldn't be that major of an issue. But can you believe that somebody associated with WWE and ESPN was telling people to not get ESPN to watch WWE programming when you can so easily and so much more cheaply watch WWE programming ad-free with just a VPN for $2 a month?
How do you get a VPN? I'm
going to sign up for it. I mean, there's loads of them out there. We're not giving any names out.
So that say I get a VPN.
Yep.
I got anything special on my computer or my TV?
Yeah, basically, yeah, you can attach it to your browser, you can attach it to your internet hub, and then operate it from, I guess, your phone or your computer. So if you go on your TV and then activate it, you can say you're from India, and therefore you can get Netflix for like £3 a month or $3 or $5 a month.
So what are the ramifications of her saying this?
Well, none, apparently. It's just a stupid thing to say. Just to upset both of your, broadcast partner and the company who is paying you.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
Well, should we move on?
But did you hear about the VPNs from her?
No, VPNs have been a thing for a very long time. They sponsor a lot of podcasts. I've done VPN ad reads before.
Have you?
Yes, not on this show, but elsewhere I have, yeah.
And so, other than the lower costs, what's the positive of doing a VPN?
Supposedly, it makes it harder for people to track your internet usage and where you're searching for and stuff like that. I think other people say that it doesn't quite work like that. I don't know. I'm not an expert in these kinds of things. One thing that VPNs are good for is that you can access websites that you otherwise couldn't because they're geo-blocked. And also, you can pretend you're from another country, and certain websites will adjust their prices accordingly. So if you say you're from a poorer country, then a website will offer you maybe a cheaper price for the same product.
Interesting.
Yes. There you go. That is the James Explains portion of Storytime with Dutch over with.
And that's at no extra charge, right?
Well, you have to pay a subscription of a few dollars a month.
No, I'm saying your advice is for no extra charge.
Oh, absolutely. Do you know what? We should get a VPN sponsorship for us. I quite like him.
Okay. I'm going to remember that.
All right, then. Let's move on. Mercedes Mone criticism. Jim Cornette, this is from. Here is what Jim Cornette has to say about Mercedes Mone. She's a rotten actress. She's physically unimpressive. She's Blair to me in the ring because she misses as much as she hits, or she's trying to hold her wig on top. And but she loves what she's doing. We can't deny that she's just not really very good at any of the parts of it. And did I mention those rotten promos? But she's got dedication. Cornette continued, I think she's more than better off where she is right now than going back to WWE, where she's got him wrapped around him being Tony Khan, wrapped around her teeny tiny little finger, and he's paying her for what we understand is quite a pretty penny. What do you think?
Well, I'm agreeing with him. She's collecting all these belts as a as a backdrop. And no, she is not that talented. And forget a mic. I don't think she can talk to save her life. But that doesn't matter. She has the deal now, and a deal where she doesn't really put that much expenditure in her effort in the ring. So I've never been a big fan of hers, because when I look at her, she said, "Hey, look at it. It's like this. It's like, hey, look at me, and everybody has to, like, she's expecting everybody to me. I don't know the girl. What was her name before in
Sasha
the
Banks.
WWE? Oh, I know her now. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't you say that the few times you interacted with her backstage, she sort of blew you off, kind of thing?
Few. No, she was, to me, she was above reproach. Like, don't even try to talk to me. Not even say hello. I don't think I've ever spoken to that woman. Ever. Never. I don't think I've even said hello to her. Because she's looking like, hey, don't even say nothing to me. So I didn't. I just stayed away from her.
Stevie Richards on last week's episode of the Stevie Richards show basically completely agreed and said she was better in WWE because now in AEW she's kind of left to her own devices and she's somebody who needs that system. And also, I think the one good thing that Mercedes Moné has got going for her is that she knows how to present herself as a star. And she puts a lot of money into a wardrobe and wigs and whatever else, I guess. So, I mean, but would you agree that maybe there isn't much substance behind the veneer of superstardom?
I agree to that. As she presents herself as a star, and
set a price very high.
It's up to the fan whether they want to buy into it or not. See, WWE now, I've noticed that it takes the talent longer to get to the ring than almost to have the match and get back out. Because they'll take, like, I was saying, I was watching WWE, I don't know, a month ago maybe, and they play the music, they come out, they take their time getting to the ring. It takes, I bet one guy, I think it was Seth Rollins, it took him 4 minutes to get from the start point to the ring. 4 minutes. And the crowd, of course, they're singing along with him. And now that was on a pay-per-view. But I think the people, after a while, it gets irritating. Somebody taking their time to get into the ring. Even this is years ago now, even the boxers, world-class boxers, the top ones, they don't take that long to go to the ring. They get them, they move down that aisle, and they get in the ring. WWE, they don't move down the aisle. They take their time, and they could stop, have a cigarette, a cup of coffee, and then they go to the ring. That's what it seems like to me. It's irritating they take so long to get to where they're going.
You mentioned this beforehand. What do you think of Mercedes Moné's belt collector thing? So currently she has 9 titles, and I can tell you where they're all from, but what do you think about them? Or what do you think about that? It's been done before in wrestling.
Not to that extent. I don't think so. I mean, that is a hell of a job, just collecting the belts. How does she get them to the ring? She wraps them around her?
At the Forbidden Door, she had soldiers come out and hold one each.
Well, that's a good idea. I've never seen it done before, so at least she's doing something unique. So if she lost a belt, I mean, What is the top belt in that? The AEW title? Does she have that now?
No, she has the AEW TBS Championship, which is the secondary.
But she doesn't
women's.
have the top title in AEW.
No. Toni Storm has the top title still.
Mm.
Let me
I think Toni Storm, I think she's the star.
But she's already beaten Mercedes and now moved on. So that one match happened and then they just moved on again.
Well, that has nothing to do with the talent. That has to do with the booker. Who's the booker?
Tony Khan.
Okay, that has to do with him. So, somebody needs to tell Tony. I should call him up and tell him myself. You say, hey, don't have one match and then forget about it. Because in championship matches, say in boxing, they can split one and then go for the tiebreaker. At least they have three. You're saying they have one match and forget about it. It's like it's an afterthought. I've never seen that before. That's how you kill talent. And, people, they need to want to buy a ticket to see if this talent wins or loses and how the stories are going to go. Remember earlier in the show, I was talking about they left all the doors open on when CM Punk left the ring with Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
But when he left, that imagination is starting to turn. All right, where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? Now I'm interested in the story because they told it well.
Do you want me? I'm going to tell you the titles that Mercedes Mone has in a minute, but beforehand, belt collectors.
Does she have the Buford Pusser title, heavyweight title?
Honestly, that would be more prestigious than a couple of these that she's had. the Tennessee Mississippi border moonshine run border title. Right. Okay. So like certain people have done it really well. Ultimo Dragon in New Japan WCW, he's the most famous one probably who's ever done it. He had 10 titles, but for the most part, all those titles had some sort of history and prestige to them. At least half of them did. Kurt Angle did it in TNA. Lance Storm did it briefly in WCW, and he's still really remembered for that. They're good examples of it. And then there are examples of nobody caring when they did it, like Austin Aries. But here's Mercedes Moné's list of titles. The AEW TBS Championship, fair enough. CMLL World Women's Championship, fair enough. And then CMLL.
That's iffy.
Yeah, CMLL, that's good enough. The EWA Women's Championship, this is the European Wrestling Association. Trust me, you're not going to hear of most of these before. That's 3. The Owen Hart Foundation Tournament winner, which is not a belt, it's a trophy. And also, you don't defend it in the way that you do all the titles. 5 and 6. From Rev Pro, the undisputed British Women's Championship, consisting of the Rev Pro Women's Championship and the Queen of the Southside title. There's 2 more for you. Primetime Wrestling Women's Championship, Bestia Wrestling Women's Championship, Discovery Wrestling Scottish Women's Championship. So basically, the majority of these, no one's really heard of. A Rev Pro, some people have heard of, but no one's really heard of. They're mostly from Europe, have no real prestige. 2 of these belts are from Poland.
Wow, that's unique. I didn't know Poland had wrestling.
Well, it does. That's 2 separate promotions, apparently, with titles. Really? Well, they don't have titles anymore. They're on with Mercedes at the moment, but there you go. What's the point of a belt collector character when nobody's heard of the vast majority of the titles you're carrying? Might as well buy one.
Well, I bet there's a bunch of collectors out there. I bet they got 10 belts if they had to buy them. Of course they had to buy them. Does she have a diploma?
No, but she'd probably count that as Title 10 if she did.
I'm going to send her one.
You should do.
I'm going to send her a University of Dutch diploma that says she's a PhD in the wrestling arts.
Right then.
Free of charge, by the way. I never do that.
Oh, that is an offer. Right, okay, there's 2 more things, then we're going to move on. As your camera, for some reason, has drifted off to the right.
Wait a minute.
We're never going to get this camera thing right, are we?
No, it's never been right.
Okay.
There it is.
There you go. Right, okay then. 2 more things, then we're going to move on. Are the Dudleys the greatest tag team ever? So this is a write-up from Wrestling News Co. Okay, so clearly no, we believe. On the TMZ Inside the Ring podcast, Matt Hardy was asked where he ranks his team, the Hardy Boys, among the all-time greats. I honestly think it's, the Road Warriors would have been so different in this era. They were the first ever tag team main event. No, they weren't.
So the Hardys?
Yeah, right. Matt Hardy said that the Road Warriors was the first tag team main event. That couldn't be for... Apparently, Antonino Rocca and Miguel Perez, like the top drawing tag team maybe ever, didn't exist in the 50s.
And the Assassins.
And the Assassins and the Mongols and the...
Yes.
And the Fabulous Ones.
The Andersons.
The Andersons. The Mid-Atlantic was a tag team territory in the 70s and 80s, Dutch. Name some more who were main eventers.
Ole and Gene drew tons of money. And I'm trying to think.
The Medics?
The Assassins. Names, you help me here because I'm hitting not a blank, but...
Yeah, well, me too. I'm kind of hitting a blank. Anyway, the point is that the Road Warriors are absolutely not the first tag team to main event a territory. Anyway, Matt Hardy continues. They were two huge stars, talking about the Road Warriors, and people want to see them just come out and massacre people. They want to see them come out and murder people. The Rock and Roll.
Yep.
Midnights, for goodness sake. Heavens to Murgatroyd. Get Jerry Lawler and Dundee.
No kidding.
You and Lawler.
Well, I think you're talking about regular teams, but the Rock and Roll, the Midnight Express, and there's more, but I just can't think of them right now.
Yeah, I'll try and look at some more in a minute. Anyway, it would be different because you still have a level of being a good worker. You have to be able to produce good matches and whatnot in this day and age, along with telling good stories. So he's saying that the Road Warriors wouldn't work out in this day and age, which is nonsense. Hardy stated that based on their sustained success, their ability to adapt, and their historical significance, the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys are, in his opinion, the two greatest tag teams in the history of wrestling. I think it's different. It changes over time. It's hard for me to not see the top two tag teams that have had the most longevity and most success as the Hardys and the Dudleys. So literally, I think at Bound for Glory, he's plugging an upcoming match between those two. So, okay.
Well, he has one thing right, the longevity. He's probably got that right. The Dudleys, but they can't perform anymore. At least the Hardys can and have a match. What about the Von Erich boys? And what about the Michael Hayes?
Oh, the Freebirds. Oh, here's one for you, Dutch. If we're just doing longevity, how about the Young Bucks? They've been together 20 years.
Yeah, but I think they've been together a long time, but I think overall wrestling fans, I don't think they would consider them, and they're a good team. I mean, they can do a lot of stuff, but I don't know about them.
I had, for short term, one of the top drawing tag teams, even though they were never main event. I still say the New Age Outlaws because they were huge for like 1 year. And then, they did, reformed and everything. It wasn't the same. But for 1 year, the New Age Outlaws were not the same level as like Austin and Rock. I get that. But they were right behind them as far as popularity. They were unbelievably popular.
Yep, they were. And they had good matches too. Because these guys understood the business and they knew what to do.
Where do you think the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys actually rank? I mean, are they
they rank up there. I cannot say. I think they have too many options and too many candidates and I don't blame, him claiming that they're the top two tag teams of all time. I guess they can, I can claim anything, or he can claim anything, but it's whether that I agree with him or not. I'm agreeing that they drew a lot of money, but the best, that's subjective, and I don't agree with him.
Here's one that I just read. It's a great shout. You probably don't know who they are. The Crush Gals. They were as popular or the maybe not quite Steve Austin level in Japan, but for a few years in the 80s, I think the Crush Gals were enormously popular and massive draws, especially with like the teens and preteen girl market in Japan. They were like celebrities for a few years.
What did they do to get so over?
I don't know. They were just mad popular, man. They just the kids loved them. They were huge stars in Japan, and we're not obviously including, a million Japanese tag teams and everything else. Right? Okay, we're going to talk about one more thing, and then we're going to be done with this show. Jack Swagger. You talked to Jack recently, didn't you?
I did talk to Jack.
How is he?
And, he's fine. He's fine. He's completely out of wrestling, and he's running a trucking company, which I think he's doing, and he's just starting. He's probably been in business 3 months, 4 months, maybe. And I guess he saved his money and got financing, or he paid cash. I don't know, bought him 2 trucks. And now he's running a trucking company here in Tampa, Florida. And if, the moving business is always a good business to get into. People are always moving. So, but he did a recent interview you're going to tell us about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he really teed off a few people in that interview he did.
Let me give you some quotes. This is from Chris Van Vliet.
Who did he do it with? What's his name? Guy's
Chris
name?
Van Vliet.
Okay.
Right, so some quotes. He's talking about his exit from AEW. I'm very jaded about my exit at AEW. Like, I'm very proud of the stuff I did there, but at the same time, I find myself questioning right now. I wish I would have just stayed in MMA at some point. Mm-hmm. Hager's AEW exit in early 2024 had been reported on as a mutual decision, although there were clear signs of problems between the standout amateur wrestler and Tony Khan. The negotiation process was very one-way, and I could tell that. Well, anyways, I always find a way to say this every day, so I think everyone should too say F Tony Khan. I could tell that he didn't want me there. He offered me like a year and a half. I was like, bro, I just did Stadium Stampede twice. Don't act like Stadium Stampede didn't put AEW on the map. I was in the debut episode of Dynamite. I was the big spoiler, and you offer me 18 months after all that. He continues, so it was that and the way that he started running the business that it really, like, he wasn't a professional. As an example of Tony Khan's alleged unprofessionalism, Hager told the story of the boys only meeting the wrestlers held at AEW after all the CM Punk stuff went down. We're all like, Sting's there, Big Show, Paul White's there, Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, they're all standing at the front, kind of like talking us through this stuff. And lo and behold, who comes into the room storming in? Daddy's little billionaire. And he's like yelling at us because I think it was Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler didn't want to come in. They didn't like the storylines, so they refused to come to TV that day. And he was like, listen, I'll put you in a 6-man 6 minutes before the show, and you're going to do it. And we're all just all feeling disrespected. And I still to this day wish I would have stood up and said, you know a lot of things, but like you just told Sting that you're going to put him in a 6-man and with 6 minutes over, but then you're going to honour him for his retirement. We were all becoming his little playthings. There's a few more quotes here, but I mean, what did he tell you about Tony Khan and what else? Not a fan, I'm gathering.
No, he's not a fan. So, and which leads me to a question. If Tony didn't want him, why did he book him? You see what I mean? Yeah, he was in WWE and with me. But if Tony didn't want him, I don't know whose idea was it to even bring him in.
It was Chris Jericho's. It was Chris Jericho's. He negotiated the whole thing on his behalf, on Jake Hager's behalf, apparently.
Okay. And so apparently, according to Jack, I still call him Jack, not Jake. According to Jack, that Tony didn't much care for him. But if you go bring a guy in, I don't care if you don't like him. He's had coverage out of WWE. Do something with him. And all he did was stand behind Jericho How long was he there? 2 or 3 years?
5.
He was there 5
He was
years?
there maybe 4.5, but yeah, he was there a long old time.
Now, this is not just Jack. That's kind of the method that Tony uses. You'll see a guy, and I'm not saying this as a knock, but you'll see a guy and said, "Oh, I like him." You might not see him again for a month, and that's a long time to try to get somebody over. And if your TV isn't intended to get somebody over and get some storylines going, I don't know what it's for. So, but we've heard before that Tony sometimes treats it like his personal, his personal game that he plays. Now, he can do what he wants to do. They're still in business, and they've just signed some really good TV deals. But what if he had a booker that could tie these stories together and to make the people watch the TV? You can make some stories. I guarantee you, if Tony had CM Punk and the girl there, I mean, he could make that, and that is a story that's just writes itself. So if you can't have them on your show and get people to watch it and want to watch it, something's wrong. So I would let me say something to Jake. Jake, please. Anything can happen, so don't tee off everybody in the business. And I was saying Tony Khan's defense, he's never taken any booker training. See, when I became a booker, at least I had worked under them for 5 or 6 years. And I would ask questions. I would ask them, why did you do this? And where is this going? And, they'd lay it out. See, some of my best ideas booking actually would come to me while I was driving down the road. And some great ideas. And a few of them I forgot and didn't write it down at the time and couldn't remember it later on. And I would just struggle with, what the hell did I have? It was great. must not have been great enough that I could remember it, but you got to watch what you say. And I'm not saying he's not saying the truth, but sometimes the truth is better kept to yourself. So Jack, shut up.
Yeah, he's not interested in getting another job with AEW, clearly. FTR, who Jack use their names, to say a story. They dispute his version of events, and they've, got text messages and whatnot to, I don't know, sort of line up with their side of the story, I guess.
What did he say about FTR or whatever?
Said they refused to lose, or they refused to come to a meeting or something like that. Anyway, just one more quote from Jack. We had to wait outside Tony Khan's office. His storylines were very good at debuting, but he could never carry anything through, and it got to the point where you couldn't tell him anything. He couldn't take criticism. He was effing up, and we were all just having to deal with it. Like we all had blood, sweat, and tears put into that company. We were all there at the beginning. Like we all had our careers behind us that helped build that company, and then we all had to just sit side by side and couldn't do anything because he wanted to run it the way he wanted to run it. And now, there's something else he said in the same interview that I want to make mention of, because you've got your own section there, of course you do. And Jack said that he was forced to travel with you. And he said, I didn't want to travel with Dutch. Yeah. But then, I was forced to travel with him.
I didn't know him. And he didn't know me. And he had his regular routine, and he wanted to travel with some other guys. But they told him, hey, take this old bastard with you and make sure he makes the shows, because he's going to be your manager. And he says, and I don't blame him for this, he says, I didn't know him. I didn't want to travel with him. He said, hell, he was, he felt like he was my caretaker, that he was in charge of getting me from point A to point B in one piece, and then showing up with me for the TV. And then after he started traveling with me, you know, he enjoyed being with me. I enjoyed being with him. And he credits me with saying, actually, our trips traveling became not training sessions, but I told him so much that he took it in. And I think he improved as an in-ring talent about, I mean, he could always do the moves. He's an amateur wrestler, and he's tough. And I told him, hey, do this and do this and do that. And he finally started doing it, and he started getting a reaction from the people. I told him, I said, slow down. And they told us one time, hey, don't beg the people to cheer you. And I told Jack, I think the first day, ignore that. I said, pay attention to the fans because they want you to acknowledge them, especially when they boo you. I said, act like, you know, you can't believe they're booing you. Just do something in reaction to what they're doing and have a reaction to it. So he started doing that, did it well. And I don't know why Vince McMahon, he was in charge then, he told the guys not to do that. You ever see Vince come down the ramp? That's all he's doing is reacting to the fans. How can you not? They were booing the hell out of him. So if he didn't react to that, you know, that's what made him boo more. That's just a part of performing. So, but, you know, Jack, he didn't want to travel. He didn't tell me that. I just learned about this when he did his interview. I'm going to call him up and say, oh, you didn't want to travel with me, huh? But he's a great guy. I think his trucking company is going to be good. And I like Jack. I still like him a lot because he helped me a lot too, because he got me to those towns and in one piece. And by that time I was held together by tape and glue, but good guy.
Yeah, the reason I made mention of it because I know the rest of the story, but you basically just, you know, told the entire story after that, because there's one more thing he mentioned and then we'll shut down the show, is that he said there's one story that Dutch told me, and it was when he wrestled Scott Hall in like his debut in Fuller Territory or wherever it was.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got pinned by him immediately, flash pinned, and then you said, you'll never do that again, and da-da-da, whatever. But he left out the funniest part of the story, is that the reason that you didn't actually, you know, you got pinned so quickly 3 times in a row, and you didn't really wrestle him, is because you booked it that way, because Scott Hall was on drugs, and you didn't trust him.
No kidding. Okay, the story is we went to, and this was the Fuller Territory in Alabama, northern Florida, and part of Mississippi, was they brought Scott Hall in, and it was in one of their better towns, Dothan, Alabama, and it was a rodeo arena. It didn't even have a regular floor. It was a dirt floor, but the people there really responded to wrestling. And I saw Scott Hall earlier today. He was messed up. He'd been smoking dope all day long. I don't know, taking what kind of pill, drinking too. I said, he may not even be able to make it to the ring. And Scott Hall was a big guy. He was like 260 then. And so, and what I did, I went into the ring with him. And the reason I did, because I didn't want to have a long match with him. Because if he would punch me, he could just come up and just, hey, maybe break my nose or do something. So he beat me the first fall in about 15 seconds. The place exploded. So he's getting out of the ring and leaving, and I got on the mic, you can't do that again. I wasn't ready. You know, I didn't tell you to ring the bell. You can't do it again. And he got back in the ring. And the second time around, it took him 20 seconds to beat me the same way. It was a small package, 1, 2, 3. They exploded again. They had never seen this finish. And then the third one, he almost had me beat again. And then Robert and Jimmy, my tag team partners, Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden, they came in, and then he had some guys come in. So we built that up to a 6-way the next week. But the people had never seen it. And I just made it up on the spot. because, I just didn't really want to work with Scott that night because he was messed up, and I knew that. So we'll just make it short, sweet, and enjoyable for the fans, and they'll never know the difference, and they never did.
There you go, then. That's
the
full
told me
story.
One time, it was in TNA, and I said, "What are you going to do in the finish?" He said, "Man, we got the greatest finish. You'll never believe this." He gave me that exact same finish. I said, "Brother, I invented that finish in Dothan, Alabama." He said, "Really?" I said, "Man, but it is a good finish. Go ahead and do it." So, and he stole it from me and give it back to me. And I had devised it, so I knew what he was going to say. Good finish. Do it.
Right. On that basis, everybody, we'll see you again on Sunday. Dutch, we the people.
We the people. See you Sunday.